March 26th. The enemy closes in, digging tunnels and maneuvering their trenches close to the base perimeter. 5 times they have probed the garrison's defenses, hitting the perimeter in battalion strength. 5 times they have been thrown back. The enemy is still unable to mass the all-out attack. The next day, the monsoon lifts and the weather clears. The heavy U.S. bombing and airstrikes resume. The Marines move out of their trenches and bunkers to seek and engage the enemy on the ground. Relief troops, 30,000 men strong, are making their way to Khe Sanh. Sweeping down from the narrow highway of the north, they see little of the North Vietnamese divisions that had surrounded the base. The enemy has silently pulled out and given up the battle. He leaves in his wake a scarred landscape and destroyed bridges that must be rebuilt before the convoy can proceed. Fleets of helicopters lift men and artillery into the hills surrounding the base. On April 7th, lead elements of the relief troops walk into the base at Khe Sanh. The long siege is over. The aerial bombardment on the North Vietnamese at Khe Sanh was the most intense in the history of warfare. Navy, Air Force, and Marine pilots flew more than 24,000 sorties. In all, from January 19th until March 31st, more than 103,000 tons of bombs were dropped on the besieging forces. In addition, the enemy was pounded by more than 100,000 rounds of artillery and mortar fire.
It is my conservative estimate that 15,000 men were knocked out of action during that period of time. The result was that we broke his back, and he has not regained his strength since. We captured documents on the battlefield that attest to this. And we've learned from these documents that we not only killed a lot of the enemy and destroyed great quantities of his supplies, but we also made it so hot in that area that he was having great difficulty with desertions. Up to 20 to 25% of companies, according to these documents, deserted.
As the Marine units move out of Khe Sanh into the surrounding terrain, they discover countless North Vietnamese bodies buried in shallow graves. Total enemy casualties for the period were estimated at more than 15,000. Marine losses were only 204 killed and 1,622 wounded and evacuated. The 26th Marine Regiment and its reinforcing units are cited by President Johnson for their gallant fighting and countless acts of heroism in defending Khe Sanh. At Khe Sanh today, the airstrip is deserted, and the trenches and bunkers have long since been abandoned. The defenders have moved on to other battles. But the question remains, was such a fierce defense of a remote outpost really necessary? Only one thing is certain. The valiant stand of the Marines at Khe Sanh will take its place in history as the fiercest battle of the Vietnam War.